I'm Julia Davis, a film major who stumbled into the business world with no experience in 2006. I was able to fail enough to learn how to run a 7-figure business and have provided consulting services to over 200 individually owned companies. Through this podcast, I hope to provide some perspective on the growth and grit it takes to accomplish big goals and share some hard lessons I've had to learn along the way. All right, today on the Growth and Grit podcast, we're here with Abby Dumont, who is owner and operator of Pinch of Salt Bakery, which is an exclusively gluten-free bakery in Grapevine, Texas, and has been doing that for the last 10 years, starting from just coffee house delivery, worked her way up into a storefront. So we're really excited for you to be here today. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. This is a great opportunity, and I love what you're doing. So I'm happy to share.
Can you give us just like a brief history of like why you started a gluten-free bakery in the first place?
So a brief background. I mean, basically a synthesized version is it's been about 11 years up to today of kind of the very beginning of this to where we are now. And I started just out of a need of my own I had gone gluten-free and was just not finding anything in like reasonable, easy access, I guess you could say, to some of the like comforting treats and things that I had eaten before, right? And we started partnering with local coffee shops for that reason, because for me, that was one of the biggest things that I missed was just going to a coffee shop, because it was so, and it was an everyday type of thing, or, a weekend thing that my husband and I would go do. And he had worked in coffee shops too. So we had some friends in that space. And it was just like all of a sudden, no muffins, no coffee cake, no, it was like you could have the prepackaged granola bar. And I was like, why is nobody making, I knew there was gluten-free bakeries. They had just kind of, started to be a thing, I guess you could say, in DFW, but just nothing that was like homemade. And so I was just perplexed by that. Like, I just thought it was kind of crazy. And, so I was like, there's definitely a need for this. And specifically kind of in the wholesale space, nobody's providing these things for coffee shops.
Did you go business to business?
Yeah, totally.
You just went in and talked to the owner and
basically
said, hey, what was your pitch?
Yeah, so it was a little bit natural at first because, like I mentioned, my husband had worked in coffee. So we had friends. We had 2 different shops that we knew the owners. So I started with those.
Yep.
And then just by the nature of the coffee space being so community driven, they know a lot of people, and we were introduced to some people through the connections that we did have. And then honestly, just word of mouth from there, people would reach out to us and be like, hey, we just opened this coffee shop, or we have one, we've had for a couple years. We have people asking for gluten-free all the time. We can't find anything, like even Costco doesn't have stuff we can buy that's any good. And so they would reach out to us, and then we started pitching a few shops. We'd send DMs on Instagram or emails. Yeah. Hey, we're like starting this wholesale thing. We already have these 3 accounts. It's going really great. We kind of had a little bit of a like proof of concept, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so, but at the time I was working at a bakery. Before it really started to ramp up, I was working at a bakery where, I was just like one of their head bakers. This was after college. And so I had gotten my feet wet and some confidence and, managing and running a small business, honestly. And so and obviously the love for baking was there for me, even though I haven't been professionally trained. I've always baked. And so I was already making things at home. I was like, oh, why not make my favorite blueberry muffin and make it gluten-free? Right. So there was sort of people already were eating the things that I was baking, and I was happy with them. And so anyway, so it kind of came from a combination of those 2 things, and then going, somebody should be doing this. This is so crazy that it's not available. So it was like kind of like wildfire. Like as soon as people were having it, then they'd be like, oh, I had your pastries at whatever coffee shop. Yeah. And like, could you provide it for the one that's in Keller? Or could you provide it for, why not? So
at your peak, how many small coffee shops were you
Yeah.
servicing, and what did your staff look like? Did you have a big staff, or were you like running around dropping all these?
That's such a good question. So we've had like a progression of growth. It started off as me and like one other person. Literally my sister would help sometimes. And then we got some contracted help for a little while as we were just getting our feet off the ground. And then we started employing people to help. And then I had, like, in the process of this whole time, like I said, it's been 11 years. So I've had 2 kids. I've taken time where I was home with them, and more involved and less involved. And so the growth was really slow. And like I said, kind of slow and organic at the beginning. Once we opened our storefront, it obviously ramped up substantially, and we knew that would happen. So, and we're still doing the wholesale program. We have had over 50 coffee shops, more like 75 at some points. We've had some shops, change their direction, and other ones close, like they're not in business anymore. So, certain things have happened, and we're still growing that side of things too. So yeah, it's been kind of a wild ride.
Did they purchase them outright? So this is just my curiosity. Like, did they purchase all the goods outright and then they resold it for whatever price they wanted to? Okay. That's just like a normal model. You said, here's my price.
Here's our price. And then you can mark it up. Yeah.
Because then you don't have to like come back and collect it. It's not like a consignment or anything.
Right.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yep.
Oh man, I could just imagine like 50 coffee shops running all around trying to, and like keeping things fresh, right?
Yep.
Because were you baking this stuff at home?
No. So from the very beginning of deciding the wholesale model was what we were going to go for, we had to have a commercial space.
Yeah.
So the old kitchen in South Lake, like we were we were renting it out part-time, sharing the space.
Yeah.
Eventually we took that lease over, and then we were there for a number of years with plans to grow, at some point. So basically once we had maxed out the capacity at that kitchen is when we started looking for, a bigger space that was also included a storefront.
Yeah.
And it being kind of scary because it was like going from one business model to a totally different.
Totally different.
Like it's running 2 separate businesses. It's the wholesale side, which is still happening, and then the retail side, which is like an animal. I mean, it is much more seasonal, holiday driven, all of that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a very, obviously staffing and all of that. It's just running a totally different.
Yeah. Having to manage
So
actual like retail employees.
Right.
It's very different than managing bakers.
Yeah. They basically have just completely different jobs. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. What was the biggest thing like in your first year of doing this that surprised you? That was like a huge challenge. Like what happened when you were like, man?
Oh my gosh, definitely building out the new store. It was just such a long process, and we had some big stressors going in. I mean, obviously financial. The timing did not end up lining up from us leaving the first kitchen and moving into the new, because of city delays and a million different departments and health code and all the, there's just a million different ropes that you have to kind of go through. But and then our lease ending, and then we ended up having to find like a temporary space in between because the new one wasn't ready yet. And so that was like honestly a nightmare. It was really the most stressful year personally for us, because we knew we're like, if we could just get in there and do what we're doing now, we have a plan for growth. We have a plan for success. We know it's like literally we just got to get people in the door when we can get the doors open. It wasn't, we weren't worried about like, will people come? It was like, we just have to get in there and make it happen. And so that year was really stressful. I mean, just, we put a lot of investment in ourselves personally and, taking on business loan, like just all the things that we had to do. It was just we were running, just like, it was basically like self-funded the whole time up until the growth and opening the new store. And so it was just like low stress because we knew what we needed to do to make ends meet, and we knew what we needed to do to make X profit. And so we would just kind of did the thing, and then to go into the new.
Where it's a huge upfront investment.
It was just a big investment. And also, we felt very privileged because for a lot of people, it's a risk. They're like, I'm doing this new thing and it's a risk. We didn't feel the risk. It was more just like, making it, getting there and getting all the pieces to line up, and then like
Did anyone try to
getting
talk
to
you out of
see.
it? Was there anyone in your family that was like, this is ridiculous? Like, this is
No,
crazy?
nobody tried to talk us out of it. No, I tried to talk us out of it for a long time. I was like, I don't think we should do that. And my husband was like, we should do that. And I was like, it just seems like so stressful. And I was right.
Yeah.
But, and he, whatever. He was there to support the whole time. And he, helps run this with me. So,
but no risk, no reward kind of thing. Like
totally.
it is always stressful at first.
Oh, yeah.
And like everything is, doing anything.
Yeah.
But I think the more you do it, the better you get at it. Yeah. And the more you have trusted employees and people that you can really rely on. And it just takes time to get all that going. But that grind is like so tough.
It is.
Especially on family. Did you bring your kids along or?
They were there like, along with us. And, they've seen the ups and downs of just like me being less available and having to understand, even though they're young, like it's not because I don't want to be there or don't want to be involved, but it's like just this one season or, for me, it feels like heavy, like as a mom, I'm sure, like anytime you feel like you're even just less mentally engaged, even if you're physically present, it's like, ugh, I hate this, like I wish I wasn't so distracted by work, and so for me, obviously that's like the hardest part from a day-to-day perspective is balancing, letting myself leave my work at work and coming home and being present.
So hard to do.
It's really hard. So
yeah. And what have your hours decreased over time? Like, tell me what your work week was like at first, and then how it's decreased. Because this is a decade of work, right? So this is not like year one. I could, after year one, I could kick my feet up and kind of relax or whatever. It's like, no. This is 10 years.
Totally.
Blood, sweat, and tears into a business to be able to get to where you can come at 9 a.m. and do a podcast. Like 5 years ago, there's not a chance you probably would have been able to do this.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. And like I kind of said earlier, the phases of the bakery have changed quite a bit. And I've basically had different times where I've had to, let as I've been postpartum and, super pregnant and all the things, like having my team literally do almost everything. Like I could basically just like work on my computer, kind of thing. And then also had seasons where I would say in the last year, since we're like a year and a half in with the new store, I've really learned how with the retail side of things and the customer service, how seasonal it truly is. So for me, it's not necessarily a like week by week. It's more of like a month by month. It's like, I'll have January was super restful. I got to go on a trip with my family. I, put in less hours day to day, was able to kind of, just have more ease in my life. But then I'm like, I know, let's say like basically September through December, it's going to be like just wild. Like it's just, and it's, we get more help for that, but it's just more, it feels more around the clock just because it's, it's seasonal and it's, and I knew that would be the case, but I don't think until I was in it did I realize how much so.
And you don't want to turn away business either.
Oh, right? No. I mean, and it's so much the planning that goes into it as much as executing it. It's like in September, we have to start planning for Halloween all the way through Christmas. It's like you have to have your Christmas menu and your Christmas plan, like strategy in October, because by the time it's October, you have to be planning for Thanksgiving and prepping ahead. And then there is no break really between Thanksgiving and Christmas in terms of like a pace. And so, it's realizing that it's okay that it's that way. And for me, like releasing the need for things to be, I guess, like balanced in some ways. You have to be like, it's going to be a little crazy and it's going to be okay. And obviously you get them, we get more help and the expectation is there. So our team knows like there's going to be late nights. There's going to be early mornings. There's going to be days where like we feel like we can't catch our breath, but there is also always a Monday, there's always a day where we can kind of be like, okay, that was kind of nuts. Let's reset. And like, let's all take an extra day off if we can, or, whatever. And it is truly much more seasonal. When it was just the wholesale side, obviously it was kind of like day to day was the same, and I could kind of pace out my work that way. So it's I'm learning, even just this past year, learned a ton. And we'll be going into it'll be like our third holiday season after this summer. And so we're like, okay, this is, this is what's required of us. Now we know, like, it's going to be even busier this year than last year. So we have to be prepared for that. But also, know that we can only do so much, and we are a small bakery. And so we're not Costco. We cannot be, it's like, we're not the Starbucks, right? We're not the like chain. And so if we sell out, we sell out. And all we did was our best. And so there's, we're all my managers, like, and really our whole team, but especially management, we're very sensitive to that, like kind of being like, we want to do as much as we can for everyone, especially because the people coming to us need it. It's like they don't have a backup option. They have to like make the pie themselves. If you sell out, there's just not a ton of places. Right. And so that stings, right? But, we do the very best we can. And at the end of the day, we do have to like remember, like, okay, it's okay if we, thought the day was going to be moderately busy and it was super busy or whatever.
How important do you think like attitude is on your team? Oh,
it's everything. It's everything. I cannot tell you how like grateful I am for the team that I have and for the fact that they do it because they love it. And I always say that in interviews to people as I've hired new people, and I try to like stress how important it is. I would rather hire somebody who'd never touched a spatula, but who was like, I have this passion for like helping people, and I'd rather teach them to do the most basic task than to hire somebody that's like a professional but a stinky attitude and like have to deal with them every day. It's like, no. It's like if you have to love it, and you have to love just the end result of knowing like how happy people are, because food is nourishment for like our bodies and our souls, and it really matters. And then obviously like on a team environment where it's a very team oriented job, and so if you can't get along,
and if one person can ruin the whole dynamic,
oh my gosh, yeah,
and I'm sure that's happened. It's happened to every business
for sure. And luckily, like it's not like we've had tons of experiences with that, but I just am like, if I could just communicate that it's literally like just your heart about it and not how much experience you have, or
that's a good message for business in general, because a lot of times people hire on experience and not on attitude. It's like if you get somebody with an optimistic, positive attitude that just loves what they do, you can teach them just about anything. But if you have somebody who's unbelievable, but there's just nothing ever that makes them happy, then it's like,
it's just a drain.
It just drains your energy.
It drains the energy for everybody. Really.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's imagine like your kids are older and they come to you and they're like, Mom, I'm going to start a bakery. What would you say to them?
Oh my gosh. I'm already starting to have these conversations with my son. He's 7. And so he's like, in the prime, like, age of thinking about what he might want to do when he grows up, without really having any concept of what that means. Like he's like wants to be a paleontologist and an astronaut, and he's also asks me, like, Mom, I think I'm gonna come and work at the bakery as soon as I can, and so I'm like, he's like, I think I would like to start up front with customer service because I think I would like to put the things in the boxes. And I'm like, okay. He's like, and then I think, because he thinks about it linearly, like he thinks like the cake decorators are like the most amazing, and so he's like, and then I'll work my way up and maybe I'll make some of the baking things, and then someday I will decorate cakes. And I'm like, okay, cool. I like that you think you have to start at boxing and then you end up at cakes. It's just so cute. But I mean, they really like, I would tell them that they can do, I always tell them that they can do anything they want to do. And that it will take a lot of work, because everything good takes a lot of work. But I think it will be impossible for them to grow up without understanding kind of what building the entrepreneur life is like, because they live it with us every day. And so, and my husband has even said, like, he had a conversation with them like a couple weeks ago, and he was like, you understand, right, that like most people have a boss. They go to work, their boss tells them what to do, and then they do it. And then if they don't do a good job, their boss tells them that they didn't do a good job and they have to do better next time, And then my son was like, wait, you are the boss. He was like, yes. All these people, they like, we they work for us. Like we help them make money to like support their families and stuff. And it's just funny watching that like all
the
click.
perspective is so different, right?
Yeah.
Because even in school, it's kind of, they're in a situation where they have a boss, which is the teacher. So it's really hard for them to understand my parents don't have a boss.
Right.
One, they don't answer like what's going on here.
Right.
Like, they don't answer to anybody.
Totally.
How are we surviving?
Yeah, totally.
So I think that's so funny. Do you feel like you parent differently from starting your own business? Like what did you change about how you parent based on your experience?
Yeah. I mean, I think really truly it's been the whole time because our kids are young. Yeah. But I will say like it definitely we've always wanted our kids to be pretty independent. Like I think that's kind of been we've woven, I guess, into the like parenting style of just, being like it's always easier to do it for them. It always is, whether it's like helping them put their shoes on or helping them get a snack or whatever. And it's easy to just kind of do it and not think like, wait, you can do that. Let's try to do that this time. And then if it doesn't go great, then here's how, we'll try again next time. So we've always kind of instilled that in them, I think, naturally from just our personalities, but also, modeling it through every day. I think it could be a tendency, especially for kids as they grow up, to think like, well, my mom and dad don't, like they own their own business or whatever. And so that seems really cool because it seems like they get to do whatever they want every day. And, as opposed to my friends who have regular jobs and then their kids watch them go to work and come home. And it's, they know that they kind of have to, like, well, they have to go to work because their boss is expecting them to be there and they have work to do, right? Mm-hmm. Versus for us, I could see there being a little bit of a like, oh, that must be nice. Like, if they don't want to go to the bakery today, they don't have to. They can stay home. Thinking that's like sort of optional when in reality it's actually in some ways can be harder because your responsibility is to do it all. And you have to set goals for yourself. You have to, make it work, whatever it is you're doing. And so,
and if somebody calls in, you got to go in.
You got to be there. Yeah, exactly. And so, the burden is on you, and then all the reward is yours as well. So it's hard, I think, for kids. Like they have to learn that by watching and by what you tell them. So we try to kind of explain that. And the hard times are good examples of that. It's like, if things are crazy, it's not an excuse for us to be bad parents, but it is an opportunity for us to say, hey, look, this happened. And it was, the responsibility of someone else who dropped the ball. But because this is our thing and this is our business, like we have to be the ones to pick the pieces up. And sometimes you have to do that. And, it might look like, it might look like kind of a bummer of a weekend or a bummer of whatever if something doesn't go the way we planned. So
have you had to cancel plans or
here and there? Yeah. I mean, and there's not like huge examples that come to mind where I'm like, I ruined my kid's birthday, or anything like that. But
we could always move that to a different day.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely been times where it's like we could have done something fun as a family, and instead we had to do something responsible and bring the kids, and they just had to kind of like whatever, loll around while we figured it out, or whatever. I had to be gone, or Jordan had to be gone, and we planned to be there together, and we had to divide and conquer kind of thing. It's more how it looks.
Okay, so how important is it to have a supportive partner in all of this? Because I know, when you're young and you're developing ideas and doing stuff, people are either dating or they're in relationships, and sometimes a significant other is not supportive of the idea or putting up a lot of resistance. Like, how hard would it have been if you would have had a partner that was not supportive?
I honestly can't imagine it. I mean, my husband and I truly are a team, and always have been. But I would say it would be very difficult. And if I didn't have him, I don't know if I would be doing what I'm doing. I might have gone with something with less resistance. Because like I said, I'm not necessarily a generator in that way of energy and optimism and ideas. And, I love what I do. And I can't imagine now doing anything else. But if he wasn't in the picture, I also can't imagine how I would have done it by myself. I think friends that I have and people that I've known that are either, not married or don't have a partner that they're in the business with, or don't have support, like that, they've had to find it in other ways. They've had to find, other coffee shop owners that are in the same space and have monthly hangs with them where they talk shop and they get advice and they get encouragement and they go, this just happened, what do I do? And have a network of somebody, people that they can call and say, I don't know what to do about this. Like, I'm not sure what to do next. And, obviously we've had to do that ourselves, but we're in those networks ourselves. But it's even more important when you have, don't have that support. And so that's the only way I can think of it. It's not a sport you can do alone. Like, it's just not. And so you have to have
a good team.
Or family. I mean, obviously your family can be there for you for emotional and even like financial, whatever support. But yeah, I think, if they're not doing the job with you without a family or a network or something in place, it would
because the job is already
so
hard.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't need
so
more
hard.
resistance
There's
coming
so
from
many
everywhere.
decisions to make. There's so endless. And it's like everybody needs advice and everybody needs support. And so I can't even imagine it. How it looks.
Did you guys always have like the entrepreneurial bug? Like what did your husband do before this? You were a baker, which was obviously great training.
Yeah.
Then you got in at the ground level in a different, under someone else's dime.
Totally.
And learned how to do this, which was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so smart. But what did Jordan do before this?
Yeah, so his background is actually in music and production.
Okay.
So his degree is in that space. So I would say, was the more entrepreneurial naturally, just personality wise, and just because of the career that he wanted to do. He knew in any type of music production, space, he would have to be contract working for most people, and that might involve, nights and weekends and, inconveniences here and there. And so, that was sort of always there for him. And he chose that, instead of just trying to go into something that was a little more streamlined. For me, I think it sort of just happened, in some ways happened to me because maybe I'm sure the bug was there because like I said, I kind of always have been pretty independent, but I also, did not think I would be doing this necessarily. So I didn't come out of college thinking I'm going to start my own business. Otherwise, I probably would have gone to business school and I probably would have wasted my time. Honestly, I don't know how helpful that really would have been.
I went to film school. And went into business, so I get it. Yeah,
so,
college is just kind of like self-discovery, really.
Right. It totally is.
But that makes sense. Yeah. So, what was that conversation like when you guys decided, like, okay, we're going to move to a storefront. This is going to be a huge investment. Because neither of you guys have like a financial background either. So did you have like an advisor or somebody that you sat down with?
No, we did not. We did not have an advisor. We just figured it out.
Let's just do the math and figure out what we need to make versus what we're spending. And then employee salary or, payroll is a whole new thing, right? Because overhead on a bakery is high, especially with food waste, right? Is there a time where you have to throw away a lot of?
Oh my gosh, yes. Those are always the hardest. Like and it's not necessarily a weight. We've gotten pretty good at figuring out like to avoid the waste from a day-to-day perspective. Like from what's made versus what's sold. We don't have as much waste there. We do have waste from time to time on just mistakes. I mean, things that come out and they're underbaked and you can't sell it if it's raw in the middle.
Right.
So it's like that can be a bummer as you're training too. Obviously people make mistakes, and when you're on a wholesale and large scale side, batches are always really big. So we literally just had yesterday, there was like a batch of our snickerdoodles that ended up with too much sugar, and then we're not sure how. They just got doubled or something in the recipe. And so
could you try everything right before you sell it?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you can look. You can tell by looking at them. So when I came in, there was a tray of snickerdoodles that were like clearly crazy looking, like they were all like wonky and crackly. But I tasted one. I was like, this is like a little sweet, but it tastes fine. So we were able to like repurpose those, but we knew there's a whole bag of cookie dough that hasn't even been baked that's from the same batch. So it's like, well, what are we going to do with that? Because it's not normal and we can't sell it like it is. So we're like trying to brainstorm like, okay, can we make it a base for the bottom of a crust? Can we, something where it doesn't have to spread out. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it happens all the time. So there's waste, there's tons of overhead cost. And it's always just been like a one step at a time, one step at a time. If I ever think more than a couple of steps ahead, I always regret it because I'm like, what are we going to do about that? And then I'm like, no, it's okay.
Because it never comes out as planned.
Literally next week. And it is not next week. It is Wednesday. So today we're going to handle Wednesday and whatever Wednesday brings us. So, I mean, really, like, I have to be. And luckily for me, I'm more of a head down person where my husband is more of a like visionary type of person. He's more of a risk taker. I wouldn't say risk. He's a calculated risk taker. He's more willing to look ahead at something and say, that's totally achievable if we do boop, boop, boop to get there. Mm-hmm. And I'm more like, it's Wednesday. Like, what do I have to do today? And so that we work well together in that way. It's harder for me to think ahead and harder for me to, vision forecast. I'm not really naturally like super optimistic. I wouldn't say I'm pessimistic, but I'm just not. It's just like, it's more fearful for me. Like, oh gosh, what will all that entail? And what if it doesn't pan out? And what if it, what if X, Y, or Z happens? Where he's more like, I can see that as being just fine if we just work towards it. And I'm like, work towards it? Like, what does that mean?
I want it right now.
Yeah. Or like, who's going to do that? And so, yeah.
What's your favorite thing to bake?
Oh, man. My favorite thing to eat is cookies. So it's one of my favorite things to make because of that. I feel like there's just so many different like types of cookies and styles. And like some are like just different textures, different things you can achieve. But flavor-wise, it's also really fun. Like cupcakes are really fun to work with because you can have fillings and icing, and cake. You basically can get lots of different effects from that too. So we have a lot of fun with both of those, coming up with new flavors and stuff like that. It's really fun.
Your bakery is so different than any other gluten-free bakery.
Thanks.
That I mean, and because, I've been gluten-free for 10 years and anytime we travel, I try to find like the local gluten-free bakery. And my husband will make fun of me. He'll be like, it's not Pinch of Salt, right? Because I'll go in there and I'll try and I'll be like, this is awful.
Prepare to be disappointed.
That's some of the places like, this is the best gluten-free bakery around. I went in there, took one bite. I'm like, garbage.
It
came out
terrible.
But it was so funny. He's like, but you're just so spoiled because you have Pinch of Salt that that you love. So like, do you use a different flour blend? Like, do you make your own? Is that what you do?
We do a lot of different things. I mean, we have some secret sauce, I'll say.
Yeah.
But it's really finding things. Once we've like found certain things that work, it's like we can develop a base for something and then use that for lots of stuff or tweak it just a bit and make it into something, a little bit different. So it's something we can always grow into. It's always, I feel like this, it's always harder to limit ourselves on and to really stick with what we do best. And at the same time, knowing we could kind of do anything, and having to like kind of hone in on our style and sort of what we're known for, I guess you could say, while still knowing like there's room for growth. And we're trying to expand more into like savory options. And people ask us all the time for like bread, which we don't make right now, like loaves of bread. I'm always a never say never kind of person. And then but it's always like logistical hurdles. So it's like, okay, well, if we really did bread, it would take, we'd have to purchase some new machinery for sure. And we would have to, just to be able to make enough, and we'd have to,
and how long will it stay good? Right?
How long will it stay fresh?
You don't have preservatives and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be tricky.
Yeah.
Bread would be hard.
Yeah, and it would involve timing, a fully different schedule. We'd have to have basically like an overnight shift, which right now we don't have. We have early, but we don't have like 2 a.m., like an overnight. So we'd have to, it's like people are like, you should make bread. And I'm like, I need to hire 4 people who could come at 4 a.m. and invest in a $20,000 machine. And then I can, it's like, we could make 3 or 4 loaves of bread a day. I'd be like, no problem. But if we needed to make like 40 or more,
just set up a GoFundMe.
It's like, like
$20,000. We need a bread machine for $20,000. If you donate to this, you'll get 6 free loaves.
Right, 6 free loaves. It's just ridiculous. So, and I love it. I mean, the enthusiasm is always appreciated, but it's fun. It's like, okay,
people don't realize.
Can we? Not right now, but maybe we will.
Yeah, my grandfather owned a bakery, and he supplied the school that we, in my
That's so
parents'
cool.
town.
Yeah.
But that was it. He was there all night because he made bread, he made donuts, he made all the things ready fresh in the morning. And you can't make donuts 24 hours in advance. Like,
no,
they will not survive. So it was just always overnight. He would
Yep.
go in at 6 p.m. He would come home at 6 a.m. And it was just a 12-hour overnight shift over and over and over.
Yep.
And like, what a way to live, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's crazy.
it is crazy.
Yeah. And for me, it's always been a little bit of like what I would expect someone else to do, I want to say that I would do, you know, where I'm like, and it's not that no one should or could work overnights. It's more just like, in order to make that happen, I know I would have to do it. And then my daytime schedule would change, you know, like in order to make it, at least figure it out. Right. And then it's like, yeah. So, and then there's people there 24/7 and, you know, we're then on call 24/7.
Right.
If there's anything goes wrong.
Or there's a fire or something at 2 a.m. Like, what are you going to do? Yeah.
So there's considerations there just from like a business sanity, you know, lifestyle sanity perspective.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, any new thing we do knowing that there's a little crazy before it calms down. But yeah, we have to make some decisions like that pretty strategically because we are gratefully where we are, and we know response to like really anything new we do is great. And people have asked us like, will you have another store? Do you want to open another location? Like all those questions are not no's. It's just like, it just changes things substantially for how I would do my job and how my management would look and how we would replicate what we do. We would probably have to synthesize and streamline and maybe offer fewer items but at multiple locations, right? And then it just changes things. And the people that are used to they have a certain expectation.
It might
maybe
go down.
Wouldn't, or maybe we couldn't change. We'd have to keep flavors for longer. We'd have like less seasonal, like we can kind of change things on the fly right now because it's just one store and it's just one day, and we can be like, hey, we're going to make whatever today, and it's just fun. And we would not be able to do as much of that because it's like, well, if we do it here, we have to do it there, and if we do it both, then we have to have it, you know, planned a month ahead, and we can't just wing it, you know. So it just changes a lot of things, and
it has to be right for you, you know, and
right.
people
like,
always
do
have
I
ideas.
Want that? I don't know. Yeah. So
it's like, it's fun to scale, but it also comes with a certain level of headache and burden.
Right. And I would be less available to my staff. If I had two locations, I would be 50% at one and 50% at the other, you know, so there would just be less, you know, less, I guess, closeness, less of a small team environment as soon as you go bigger, which, you know, this is what it is. So,
have any grocery ever reached out to you and said, hey, can we?
No.
Really?
It's a whole separate thing because you have to have different, like, you have to have different, like, co-packing, like, and like licensing and things like that to have grocery, like resale like that is super different. We've thought about it. I mean, we've been asked like by one of our coffee shop partners. We've also just kind of thought about it, like something like a granola bar or something that's shelf stable. Like, would we ever be interested in somehow securing like a co-packing type of thing and having that be a product? It then becomes more of like a product, and it's just a totally different world. But I do know friends that I have people that I know that are in that space, like the product space, you know, where they have 2 or 3 SKUs in grocery stores, you know, that kind of thing. So
it just changes the dynamic.
Changes it. Yeah, it would be sort of like another arm, you know, would be like its own thing.
What advice would you have for young entrepreneurs that are just starting out a journey, whether it's starting a business in a different field or in a restaurant business or in any business? Like, what advice would you give them if you could go back and talk to yourself 10 years ago?
That's such a good question because there's a lot that I would have that I look back as lessons that I learned, you know, that I'm like, oh, I wish I'd known that, or I wish I'd had a different outlook maybe on that at the beginning. And I think it's that there are no limits unless you put them on yourself, right? And obviously there's cost and there's work and there's time, but I think I self-limit a lot on what I think is possible or what I'm maybe willing to do, to sacrifice even. Like, those things are only limits if you like allow them to be. And it's really truly about what you want. And I think a lot of people don't know what they want, and that's okay. Like, it is a growth process of finding out what is a good fit for you in your life. But if it's something that you want or even something that you think you want, there's no reason not to go for it, right? And not to put the foot in front of the other foot. Like for me, that is what I have to do. I have to literally just start on something. And once I've started, I'm in it. And it's not, it's not as challenging to do the next thing. It's, once you've got the momentum going, there's momentum. And like, it literally does create movement and,
just don't get too far ahead of yourself.
Exactly. And
right?
so I think my advice would be, and that's just because that's who I am. Like, it's just that the limit is there if you set it. And sometimes limits are good, but there's, there's opportunity. I think that it's been really helpful for me to cheer on other small business owners and other people, even in my own space. There are more like gluten-free, allergy friendly, like places popping up, in the Metroplex. And I'm just like so excited for them. Like I really am. I've had to, let go of any, I guess, ego that's kind of like, oh no, like what if, people stop coming to us because now there's a bakery that's closer to them. When I have people telling me they drive 30 miles or whatever to come to us. And then I'm like, wait, no, that's so silly. Like this is already niche. I'm so excited for the people that are out there doing what I'm doing and that they're meeting those needs because I certainly can't do it all. And my team can't. And so I just have had to it's been really helpful for me to just.
And building a network of like-minded people is so positive too. Instead of using it as competition, I think that's just an unhealthy way to do business in general versus networking and saying, hey, is there something that you're doing that I can learn from or, vice versa.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So I guess it would just be that any action that you take, towards something that is a dream of yours or something that you even if it's just something you love and you're not even sure where it's going to go, you will be so surprised if you dedicate one small action a day even towards something that's a dream or something that's a challenge even. Like if it's something even that you're already in. I have things like that all the time where it's something seems looming and it's like if I have one meeting or I have one real conversation where I jot down some notes and actually get kind of an action plan, like what am I going to do tomorrow? And then that next day I wake up and I do that one thing. It's like, you look ahead a month and you're like, oh, I did that. And it was just part of my day to day instead of being like, oh my gosh, how would we possibly achieve that? Or how can we grow in that way? Or, so that's for me, instead of being kind of discouraged by that, to sort of be energized by that, the one step at a time, really. That's how we do everything.
I love that.
So.
And how can people find you if they want to get some delicious gluten-free goods?
Yeah, so our storefront is at 1900 South Main Street in Grapevine. We're Suite 103. And we are on Instagram at Pinch of Salt Pastries. You can always reach out to us there. I'm really responsive on social media. And then visit our website. We have a menu up. You can pre-order. Come see us.
And I've tried hundreds of gluten-free pastries, and I will tell you, yours are the best.
Hands
so down,
much.
No question.
We're also really excited because our coffee program is now in-house. We had partnered with a local shop to get off the ground and get going, but we've brought our coffee menu in-house, so we've just been
and
developing
it's
coffee
awesome.
drink
and it's local
menu and it's local and it's so good. That. We're so excited about it. So
it is
that's new. That's our newest, I guess, our new thing. But I mean, it's also kind of, we hope to feel streamlined, like nothing changed, even though something did. So yeah, it's been well received so far and we're really excited about it. So
I love that. Well, thanks so much for doing this. It's been awesome.
It's been great. Thanks for having me.